Hello, class, and happy Friday. Hope you guys are having an awesome day today, and I hope that you guys are ready to learn. I'm going to try this a little different, as I've said before. I'm going to try and teach this lesson. It should be a little bit of a review with some few things added, so I want you to try your best. It's okay if you don't exactly understand everything. I just want you to try your best on the homework, and then we will look at the homework on Monday, okay? So I hope that you guys came prepared with your textbooks. That's all you need for today. And I have a copy of the textbook here in front of me. So I'd like you to open to page 227. 227. So first off, let's talk about percents. Now notice this first statement where we use percents over everything. For example, my brother and I growing up, we competed over everything. And I'll never forget what he would always beat me at. At least the older he got, the more he beat me at. Whenever he was younger, I would beat him all the time. Shocking, right? But I would beat him, I know. Well, he would do so much better at me than basketball, specifically free throws. So what we would do is we would compete on who got the best percentage. We would do 10, and then we would say, okay, what am I shooting at? Am I shooting 50%, 60%, 70%? But how do we know that? How could we do it in our heads? We're about to see today. Girls, I know you may not be playing basketball, some may, but girls may know more about sales tax or the store bargains more than I do, right? You say, "Oh, that dress is 25% off." Okay, what does that mean? Like, is that good? Is that bad? Do I care? I mean, it's shopping. The guy's mentality is you go in, you get the item, you get out. The girl's mentality is the item's over there, so let me go all around the store till I get my item, and I go all the way back because you never know what deals are there. Am I right? I know. Uh, I don't know if it's any of you guys, but that's just typically how girls shop. I know. You always have to look for the bargain. So we've always given these sales as percent. So what are we talking about? Well, first let's understand percents before we even get to say how much are we saving. Notice this box just explains how we say things. So first off, 90%. Hopefully that's your grade or higher. I hope that's an A. So we say 90%. What is that? Well, it's really 90 out of 100 or 90 per 100 or 90 points out of 100 points. Now, to write it as a ratio, the fraction, notice a percent, not a decimal. A percent is based on what? Hopefully it's not awkward silence. Now I feel awkward. Based on 100, yes. A percent is based on 100. So notice, even in both of these percents, notice what the denominator is every single time. For a percent, the denominator is always 100. Notice what the numerator is. The numerator is always the actual number. So here, 90 over 100, 115 over 100. If I had 40%, it would be 40 over 100. If I had 3.5%, it would be 3.5 over 100. So how do we write a percent as a decimal? Notice, where's the decimal right now in the 90? I hope that you guys can identify where it is. It's after the zero, correct? It's right after the zero. It's there, it's hiding, but we know it's there. So notice, how do we make a percent a decimal? All you do is move the decimal to the left. Oh, is that to the left? It depends on how you're seeing it. To the left, two places. Why two? Because of these two zeros. So you move it to the left two places to go from a percent to a decimal. Now, how do you think we go from a decimal to percent? It's just the opposite. So to go from a decimal to a percent, you move the decimal, which is right here, to the right two places, 90, and then add the percent sign. We'll take a look at some of these. I want you to try skill check box number 2. I'm not going to show you the answers. Skill check box number 2, I'm going to give you some time to do it. I'm going to let the sub pause it now. Give the students about 2 minutes. That's about all you need. Going to give 2 minutes. You could put a 2-minute timer. You could pause it, or you could just wait. But pause it now. And then now welcome back. Hopefully that's been about 2 minutes. Let's see how you guys did on skill check box number one. Number one, notice the direction says to write each percent as a decimal. And then to write the decimal as a percent. So notice, where is the decimal right now? The decimal is behind the 3. So how do we make a percent a decimal? You move that decimal to the left. Notice, we want to get rid of this sign. So we go away from it. We move to the left 2 places, and we get 0.23. Number 2, the decimal is behind the 4, so we move it to the left 2 places. Now, whenever I put it here, there's that empty space, which is a 0, so it's 0.04. Number 3, the decimal is behind the 0, but I only move it 2 places, so it goes between the 1 and the 6, which is 0.16, or, I'm sorry, 1.60 or 1.6. The answer for 4 is 0.375. Because here we actually see the decimal, we move it 2 places to the left to get 0.375. So how do you change percent to a decimal? Move to the left 2 places. To go from percent to decimal, 2 places to the left. Now, the opposite is true if you go from a decimal to a percent. You find the decimal, you go to the right 2 places. So here we have a decimal, go to the right 2 places, we get 9%. Here we have the decimal, go to the right 2 places. Oh, there's that gap there, which means it's 50%. Here we have a decimal, move it 2 places. It goes between 7 and 8. So 7.8%. Last one, move the decimal 2 places. To the right, we get 148%. Okay? So this is uploaded on YouTube. If you need to replay it, especially tonight for your homework, I highly suggest you go on YouTube, like and subscribe. I'm just kidding. Go on YouTube and you can see how to do this. You can pause it, you can see again. But really, all you have to do is memorize. To change from percent to a decimal, you move to the left 2 places. Notice you're always moving 2. To go percent to decimal is to the left. To go decimal to percent is to the right. Okay? So that's all. If you have to write that down, memorize it, that's how you solve. Now, what happens if we're told a fraction? How do we write a fraction as a percent? Well, you set up a proportion. Now, this fraction is always going to be what we're told, 3/10. Equals to, what's this next fraction going to be? The n is always going to be on top. Your 100 is always going to be on the bottom. This is the easiest proportion to set up. You always write whatever fraction you're told. You always write 100 on the bottom because a percent is a number over 100. Look back to our definition, base on 100. So the percent always has a 100 as the denominator. So we take our fraction, make it equal to x over the number. So this x is whatever the percent is. So whenever we cross multiply, we get 300 times 10x, divide by 10, and we get 30. So that's 30%. Same thing here. We take our fraction, 150 over 200. That's our fraction. Now in this case, whenever you make it equal to 100, you can do the exact same thing. What this example does is they simply reduce it. Because if you divide 200 by 2, you get 100. So divide 150 by 2 is 75. This is using the shortcut method that we learned with proportion. So you could solve proportions, get the same answer of 75%, or you can use a shortcut method and divide both by 2. So go ahead and try skill check box number 2 at this time. I'll give you a few minutes. Again, you can pause it just like we did last time. I'll give you a couple minutes. Should take you about 2 minutes again, and I'll just press play whenever you're ready. So I hope that you guys did skill check box number 2. Let's go over the answers really fast. Number 1, it's already over 100. So this one should be easy. The answer is just 39. Whenever you get it over 100, that's your answer as a percent. Because a percent is a number over 100. So here you have to set up a proportion, or you could say, oh, 10 times 10 is 100. So 9 times 10 is 90. Or when you set up your proportion, it's going to be 9 over 10 is equal to x over 100. You cross multiply, you get 10x. You multiply here, you get 900. Divide by 10, you get x equals 9. Same thing with 4. You could use the shortcut. 4 times 25 is 100, so 1 times 25 is 25%. Or you could use your proportion. It'd be x over 100 is equal to 1 over 4. Cross multiply, 1 times 100 is 100. 4 times x is 4x. So divide both by 4, x equals 25. Same thing here. You could use your shortcut method. The answer is 76%. 76%. Now, this last step is going to use kind of both of those combined. So here we're told a fraction. In this case, a fraction is an improper fraction. So what you must do is you must make it a decimal. Notice, how do we make this a decimal? How do you make a fraction a decimal? You divide. So let's divide. Numerator always goes inside. Denominator goes outside. When we divide, we get 1.8333333333 forever, never, 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 never. So it's 1.833 repeating. So notice the way we change a decimal to percent, we move it how many places? We move it 2 places. In which direction? To go from a decimal to percent, we move it to the right 2 places. So let's zoom in on this. Notice what they've done. Here they have their decimal. So then they move it to the right 2 places. I know you're already writing down the answer for the skill check. I don't know, maybe you're not. But you move it 2 places to the right. So it becomes 1.8, I'm sorry, it becomes 183.3%. 0.3%. Now, in this case, we stop at 0.3 because it says to round to nearest 10. So that's why we left it at 0.3. So try skill check box number 3. Try those on your own. I'm going to show you the first one. Obviously, you can see the answer is 35. So how do they get it? It's 7 over 20. So let's divide 7 on the inside, 20 on the outside. Tell me what you get. Whenever you divide those, you should get a decimal. Go ahead and divide it. 7 on the inside, 20 on the outside. You get an answer of, I know you may not have it done already. 20 goes into 70 how many times? 3 times, with 1 left over. So then you get, how many times does 20 go into 100? 5 times. Now notice you've had to annex your 0, so it's 0.35. Now you have to change it to a percent because the directions say to write each fraction as a percent. So we got a decimal, 0.35. Now what is 0.35 as a percent? To go from decimal to percent, we move it how many places? We always move it 2. Now which way? To go decimal to percent, to the right. Decimal to percent, to the right. Now, it says to round to the nearest 10th. Do we have to round to the nearest 10th? No, because it doesn't continue on forever and ever and ever. That is only, when it says if necessary, that is only if it is repeating, just like this example was. It was 1.833333 repeating because you were always getting a 2. That is when you have to round. So our answer for number 1 is 35%. Number 2. Try number 2, 3, and 4 on your own. Now, number 2 is an improper fraction, but can we make that a fraction so that we can divide it? The answer is yes. What we need to do is we need to make it an improper. We get 3 over 2. The 3 goes inside. The 2 goes outside. Where you get an answer of 150. Double check your answers because we're running out of time. Number 3 is 44.4 because we had to reduce that one. And then the last one is 62.5%. Whoa, too far. So now let's look at what I'd like you to do for your homework is numbers 1 through 12. So it's page 30 and 231, numbers 1 through 12. and I'll see